my friends. Okay, Saturday night, UFC 257, Etihad Arena, the final of the 3 shows this past week on Fight Island, the big one, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2. And we found out on Saturday that, Dustin Poirier says 25 minutes to make life fair. He only needed 7.5 because he exacted revenge. He wins via TKO, first TKO/KO loss of Conor McGregor's career. What a fight. What a moment. What a scene. There's so much to discuss here. Let me ask you this. First things first.
You're going to set the stage? Please
I'm going to set the stage.
Please set the stage.
Fight starts very early on. Takedown. Dustin Poirier. Chael Sonnen told me on Saturday on my radio show he needs takedowns early in order to set the tone, but that's not part of Dustin Poirier's arsenal. Conor gets up to his credit, but then clinch work. Were you surprised that Poirier started the fight like that and landed the takedown and was able to keep him in the clinch as long as he did? It was almost half the first round.
So I spoke to Dustin before we left, and takedowns was a part of what he was going to try to do. At least give him a different layer of mixed martial arts to think about. And takedown was nice. And it wasn't traditional, right? Conor can defend traditional takedowns. Dustin went to a double leg, right? His head off to the right, double leg try. Usually you will drive that guy off to the left, right? You'll try to get an angle and drive to the left. But Conor now is well-versed at stuffing the head, floating position. So instead, Dustin goes double leg, head on the opposite side. But with his left foot, he trips Conor. In a wrestling match, this will not work. But because of all the different things you got to worry about in the fight, the punches, the kicks, Conor was taking punches up top. That's what Dustin Poirier does. I'm not worried too much about the wrestling. Dustin tricked him. It was crazy. But once they got up and they were standing, I wasn't necessarily surprised because Dustin Poirier's bigger. And you could see it from the moment they were in the octagon. Conor got his weight down to make lightweight this time. His legs look big, but his upper body didn't look as big. And Dustin Poirier fills out overnight like not many lightweights in the world can.
I'm told Dustin weighed around 177 on fight night. So they weighed in obviously at 155. He looked to be bigger. Conor got up. I thought he won the first round. I thought he landed the bigger shots. There were opportunities where it seemed like he may have even landed really clean shots that could have hurt Dustin Poirier. Poirier said he was taking pictures, as they say in the boxing world, where he was admiring his work. But I thought that was actually the turning point. Before we even get to the leg kicks, I thought Dustin Poirier, once he felt that power and was able to absorb it, he was like, I'm good, right?
Confidence went up. I was like, the moment he felt one clean and he didn't fall down, he was like, wait a minute, I can take this. And, there's a lot said about Conor's punching power, and it has proven to be very jarring. But that's 2 people now that have told me that. Habib told me on Fight Island, he goes, he hits hard, but he goes, nothing ever hit me. And I went, wow. He said, that's why I was continuing to kind of press him the way that I did, because nothing made me go, oh my God, this guy hit so hard. And Dustin felt the power, but when he didn't go down, because remember, it only took 1 the first time. So once he took a clean shot right on the chin, you can almost see the confidence grow.
And then we saw the calf kicks. And we've seen this in some big fights. Michael Chandler actually was a victim to calf kicks against Brent Primus, Henry Cejudo as well in the past. And we've seen what it could do to the leg. It turns the leg almost dead. And then I was really interested in the fact that in between the first and second round, I don't know if you caught this, Conor didn't use the stool. And so I thought, okay, maybe the calf kicks aren't bothering him as much. He wants to stand. He's in good shape, all that stuff. But then come the second round, it was very clear early on that lead leg was in trouble. Could he have done, or what should he have done differently in order to stop taking so much damage to that leg?
So first off, you can't miss the check right hook of Dustin Poirier, right? In the first round, he landed like 2 of them. Then one he missed very, very close, and he went to Conor. He kind of pointed at him like, hey, you better be careful. That was the same punch he's hurt Max Holloway with, same punch he hurt Justin Gaethje with. He throws this beautiful check right hook. And I've said it, Dustin is a right-handed guy. So when he's punching you with his jab and with that hook, he's hitting you with his power hand. This thing has just become so good that it's almost viewed as his main weapon. The reality is this guy's dominant hand. So when he's throwing that right hook and he lands it, it's buzzing guys. And he hit Conor with one, and then he threw another one. He barely missed him, and he told him, hey, this is one you got to watch for. Now, as we get to the leg kicks become available because they're both southpaws, right? They're both southpaws.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm fighting as a conventional fighter, 75, 80% of the time, the guy in front of me is going to be fighting me as a conventional fighter. You don't see as many southpaw guys. Luke Rockhold was a problem because he was a southpaw. He could jam the body kick, he throw a left hook. John Jones gave me a lot of problems because he was a southpaw. So he's constantly just kicking me in the body. It opened the window. But what that does eliminate is those outside leg kicks. That's why when Jones and I fought, he never threw outside kicks. It was always kicks inside or kicks to the body. You can't throw those kicks because you can't get your foot to wrap around the outside. But the moment you're split stance, conventional, southpaw, now you can throw outside kicks and you can throw leg kicks. Since this whole low leg kick thing started, Conor McGregor's been gone. He only fought Donald in that time. Back in 2016, when he was very active, people weren't throwing that as much. It's a thing that started, recently, and it's become more prevalent in mixed martial arts. And he never fights southpaws. So nobody's really throwing those kicks at him like that. And he just looked like he had never seen it and had never really dealt with it before. What he can try to do is check it. But the reality is, when you're checking him, unless you can get your shin turned completely into that kick, it's still going to hit you on the front to the outside of your shin, and it just deads it. It kills all the nerves in the outside of your leg. But look at Paul Felder, right? When Paul Felder fought Dan Hooker, he got kicked like that a lot, and it just damaged his leg. But he was able to get through it because it's something he's dealt with, being around the fight game, fighting consistently, and he has felt him in training and in the fights. And I just think that the time away where Conor didn't see this new technique really did hurt him.
So I want to ask you about potentially switching stances. But before I ask you about that, I do want to bring something up and clear the air about something. Last week, I interviewed John Kavanagh, Conor's head coach. And in the midst of that interview, Kavanagh said something to the effect of, we trained a lot of orthodox for this fight. And obviously that's a big deal because Conor's not an orthodox fighter, but then that would make it, orthodox versus southpaw.
Yes.
And in that interview, he goes, oh, wait, cut that out. It was a pre-taped interview like we do now on Zoom. And I said, okay, fine. Afterwards, he was like, no, I was just messing around. Keep that in. DC, I got so much hate over the past few days. I couldn't believe that people actually believed it. It was clear. He was smiling when he said it. People say, you turned on Conor. You revealed the game plan. I can't believe you stabbed him in the back. Like, either I'm a shill or I'm the guy who wronged Conor McGregor. It was crazy the amount of hate that I got. But here's the thing. The thing is, okay, and I there's an interview up with John Kavanagh on YouTube right now where he clears the air that he was just messing around the whole time. But I did ask him, did you guys consider switching stances? Would that have alleviated some of the, obviously you're still putting pressure on the back leg now that you're switching.
You talked to him since?
I have talked to John Kavanagh this morning, and I'll tell you more about that conversation. And I asked him, maybe you guys should have gone orthodox at that point. Would that have even made a difference? He said the two main things he could have done was obviously check him better and, of course, move out of the way, right? Like continue to move out of the way. But switching stances, would that have helped him and making the lead leg now the left leg as opposed to the right leg?
We were talking about that the other day, me and Paul Felder. I think it was the midweek fight. Somebody was getting beat up with low leg kicks. And we spoke about now how you switch the stance. Now it's unfamiliar, right? Because this isn't something that you're used to doing. And then B, the damaged leg is the back leg. And all the power comes from the back. Everybody thinks you don't punch off of your front foot.
Right.
Everything you punch off of is off the back foot. Yep. So now this damaged leg that you can get no weight on is your back leg. Sure, it protects it from getting kicked anymore. But how effective are you going to be, A, fighting out of a stance that you're not familiar with, and B, trying to throw power punches with your non-dominant hand off of a foot that you really can't get any drive off of? So it might have allowed for him to stay in the fight a little bit longer, but I think that it would have really limited what he could do. Because, honestly, Ariel, punching power, movement, everything starts off the back foot. Yeah. You're not stepping with your front foot, then your back foot follows. You're kind of moving. Dominic Cruz is doing a whole bunch of fantastic footwork, right? But a lot of that movement starts off the back. It's like everything's moving. All the angles, all the turning, all that other stuff starts off the back most times. So you push off backwards with your front foot. But guess what catches your action as you go back? Your back foot, right? When you push off the slide back, you eventually pivot with the back foot in order to go back forward or pivot and turn. you do a lot on that back foot. So by switching stances, it still limits you.
I love when John Anik says investing in something. He invested in the calf kicks.
Yes.
Obviously, it paid off. Fantastic game plan by Mike Brown, Thiago Alves, the whole team. And then eventually you saw the leg kind of give out, and then he rock and socked them and finished.
You saw it.
You
saw
and then you freaked out. And what a shot that was. Untucked DC.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, come on, man. Why did they have to run that?
At this point, I'm not even I had taken my shirt out because if we're in Vegas, I literally just sit the whole time because Rogan does the interviews.
Sure.
Or Anik does the interviews. Unless I'm going in there to do the interviews, I can sit. Like, reality is you can go there in shorts because you never get up. But on the pay-per-views, I get up for the stand-ups, I tuck in, I get nice and ready. But then once I sit down, I'm there for the next 7 hours. Right? And I sit and I get comfortable and I get to enjoy fights is what I do. I can't believe that's my job. Mm-hmm. My job is to watch fights next to the octagon. It's fantastic. And I was excited for Dustin.
What did he say to you, by the way? I'm going to smash Kincaid. What is that?
King cake. King cake. He said, I can't wait to get home to eat some king cake. King cake
that?
Is it's a Louisiana cake, circle round cake. It's very, very sweet. Inside the cake, there's a baby, right? So the person that gets the baby has good luck for a year. It's a Mardi Gras thing around the festival, Lent season. It's just like a king celebrate the time of the year.
Okay.
But he said he's going to smash some king cake. I bought a king cake for my son to take to school for his Heritage Day. You know, I'll order one from Louisiana and let him take it to school. So it's a thing that we do down there. We have our Louisiana people it's a completely different world down there. And there's a lot of different things, but he said he's going to have some king cake and some gumbo with potato salad. Right. So he's like super excited about the food. And I was excited, man. I was happy. But back to the fight, that last leg kick, you saw Conor almost stagger. I think Dustin thought he hurt him with his hands. That's why he went after him faster. But then you could see that Conor was he was beat down, man. And the reality is, you know, he got beat by Dustin Poirier and he got beat by a better fighter on that night. You know what's the crazy thing? Mm-hmm. Should the general public, right, not be surprised? Because since they fought, Dustin's the guy that's been in there with the better fighters. Mm-hmm. Dustin's the guy that's been active and competing. Dustin's the guy that has fought Eddie Alvarez twice. He's fought Max Holloway. He's fought Justin Gaethje. He's fought Khabib. He's the guy with the experience, right? But we understand that with the star power that kind of brings, you almost kind of like forget that, hey, Poirier probably should have been the guy that was favored.
You know, when this fight was first announced, we talked about how the mainstream, the casual media, the casual sports fan were like, what? This fight happened 6.5 years ago. Conor beat him in a minute 46. Why are they doing this? This makes no sense. It's a tomato can. It's a cupcake. We said it on this show, and everyone wants to forget. We said Dustin Poirier is being disrespected. He is way better than people are saying he is. DC, look at this lineup of fights since his knockout loss to Michael Johnson. Jim Miller beat him. Eddie Alvarez, no contest. We know what happened there. Anthony Pettis beat him. Gaethje beat him. Eddie Alvarez beat him. Max Holloway beat him. Lost to Khabib, the greatest of all time. Dan Hooker beat him. Conor McGregor beat him. Like, that's a murderer's row.
It's insane what the kid's done.
To suggest that this was a bad loss by Conor, that he lost to a lesser fighter, is absurd. To suggest that Dustin Poirier couldn't beat. Now, I see a lot of people saying to me, you said Conor McGregor was underrated. That what happened on Saturday doesn't change my stance on the body of his entire career. Like the work that he has put in and his skills doesn't change. Dustin Poirier might just be the second best lightweight behind Khabib and the best active lightweight on the planet. This was a really good guy. This is an amazing guy who deserves respect.
I think Dustin Poirier is easily the only guy ahead of him is Khabib. And I think that Justin Gaethje today could be, you know, it's a tough fight because that first fight was very close.
But he finished him.
He did finish him, but he took a lot of damage with the low leg kicks in that fight against Gaethje, you know? So, like, Gaethje today is very tough, and that's one thing I don't want people to do. Write off Justin Gaethje because he got beat up by Khabib Nurmagomedov. That doesn't change who Justin Gaethje is, right? Khabib just beats everybody like that. Case in point, look at what Dustin Poirier has done since losing to Khabib in the fashion that he did. So let's not write off Justin Gaethje because the last visual we have of him is him getting beat. He is still very viable, and he's still as dangerous as any of these guys in the lightweight division. But I wasn't counting Dustin out. I even got that at times, right? So it's like you can't win with people because people are going to form their own opinions, and it does not matter what you or I say or do. People are going to interpret it whatever they want. Like someone said, because I celebrated for Dustin, I hate Conor. I don't. Why? I don't find joy in a guy losing. That's not like I've lost. I hate it. I've seen my friends lose. You hate it. So you understand what's happening on the other side. For me, I love the sport, but I hate the thrill and the agony because one side's so happy, the other. I hated seeing that dude go to his wife and her crying, pregnant. You know, that sucks. But the reality is,
sorry to interrupt, but what about Dustin saying to you guys? I believe he said it. I hate this, right?
Dustin told me, he goes, I don't enjoy fighting anymore, but I want to secure a life.
Does that concern you?
With him. No, he goes, I don't like this, but I'm a dog, right? He's like, I'm a dog out here. Like, I am a dog out here. And he's like, you know, it is what it is. He going to fight when he gets in there. And I said that last week. I said, look, man, I'm not going to say he's going to win, but every time he goes out there, he's going to fight you as hard as he can, right? Because I know what the kid's made of. But, you know, the reality is Conor got beat by the guy that's been active, that's been competing, that probably should have been the favorite. And I saw something yesterday on the plane that they did they put the odds for the third fight if they do it, and Conor's the favorite again. I just don't understand how anything in what happened Saturday would make people think that he should be the favorite going into a third fight.
Look, after
he has shown an ability to adjust, though, right?
Sure.
When he's had problems with things, he's come back and showed that he's gotten better and he's improved in those areas. But
no, there's a strong case to be made there. But after the fight, he did mention the inactivity, and he said that, you know, he had only fought a collective 40 seconds dating back to the Khabib fight. Obviously, that's going to affect you. First time cutting to 1.
How long was he away before Khabib?
Yeah, that was Eddie. Well, he had the Floyd fight in between in 2017.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not fighting for mixed martial arts.
But hey, how about after? You know, great fight, and part of the storyline going into the fight all week was, oh, we need the old Conor back. We need the trash talking Conor, all this stuff. They were buddy, and Iaquinta was saying, you know, too much kumbaya and all this stuff. But I have to say, you know, I don't know if ultimately he needs that, and maybe we'll see what it's like in the next fight for him. But I will say, man, the way he handled it, you know, it reminded me a lot of the first Diaz fight.
He's always done that. It's always been Conor.
Even the love between them after backstage, that clip by BT Sport. I love that stuff. I'm a sucker. Maybe it's just me getting older. You don't like it?
You're tripping.
I'm tripping.
I mean, yeah, you're tripping.
You want bad blood?
Listen. I love gracious in defeat, right? When you see a guy, you shake his hand, tell him good job. When I see Stipe Miocic next time, I'm gonna shake his hand and tell him, hey, man, I'm gonna say, Stipe, dude, no disrespect. You're the man. Yeah. You beat me twice, right? You did your thing. You got better. You improved and you got better. But in that moment, I'm upset and you know, but the buildup, I truly believe that some people need that edge. Do I think he needs to go as far as he went with the Khabib fight? No, that was too far. But I think some of those guys need that edge a little bit, man. Like, and I think that for McGregor, he's showing a maturity about him that he may not have had before. But I think that some of these guys need that edge. Like, you know, I know Jones got in a lot of trouble for the things that he did. He said to me one time, I beat you after a weekend of cocaine or whatever, you know. And people are like, oh, that's so crazy. But I think when a guy's living so crazy like that, at times it like allows him to be so free inside that fight, right? And I think that for Conor, he was so loose in the buildup that it allowed him to just be so free. And I felt like walking out there, he looked like himself, right? But you could see a little bit less of that McGregor swagger as he walked to the octagon. And I don't care what you say. Anybody that watched the fight could see it, right? He just didn't seem, he just didn't seem like the same guy. Like, and I think that maybe the maturity, it makes you mature inside of your life, but you also mature inside your mind and in the fight. Because those things that maybe didn't worry you before because you just were so fuzzy that you didn't care, now that there's not that fuzz to block out all the nervous emotion. And now you see everything.
The old Conor back. You want
not even just Conor, man. I would advise a lot of those guys that went to the top of the mountain with that type of style. You can't truly just eliminate it all. You just can't. I'm sorry. I just think that you have to continue and have a little bit of that like Rogan used to always say that. He's a wild man. He's a wild man. He's a wild man in the cage. He's a wild man outside. And I think sometimes that lends itself to each other. And I think that.
Does this go back to Marvin Hagler?
Marvin Hagler, yeah,
it's hard to wake up when you're sleeping in satin sheets.
That's another thing, right? Like, does Conor have the motivation to go back and become the guy that competed at the level that he did all those times, right? Like, seeing a young man mature is not a bad thing, Ariel. Let's not make it seem that way. But this is a sport where a lot of times the bandits win. You know what sometimes the bad guy wins in mixed martial arts. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't know. And Dustin Poirier is a good guy. And he's one of the good guys that wins. But I think for certain guys, man, they got to have that edge. They just need it.
So now the big question is, what's next for Dustin Poirier? What is next for Conor McGregor? Before